Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am Mr. Warren Hayes, and this is the Mr. Warren Hayes Show edition. I'm still kind of used to equating what I do to specifically Monday Night Raw or Thursday Night SmackDown Live. Which is actually on Tuesdays, but it was still fun to say. Hey, no, it's July 18, 2019, and we are going to talk about wrestling here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We just came off of probably one of the most spectacular weekends of wrestling that we have been treated to in a while. As far as stuff being broadcast on television, for us as fans, having to make very difficult choices. I talked about it a bit last week. I'm just going to skim over some stuff, and I've done some stuff where I give my full opinions on the shows that happened this weekend. But it's always right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes that the magic happens. Where I do this live every Thursday night, 9 p.m., part of the Smark to Hayes hashtag Smark to Hayes, as I follow immediately Anthony Suter from Smark to Death, who does his show live starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. I take the rest of the evening off of him, and boy oh boy, we have a live show here tonight, and we have a bunch of folks again here in the chat that I am so happy to see, to have with me this evening. We have Tim Traver, great friend of the show. We have Carlos, who's here, Mr. Frets, who hasn't been around for a while, and he apologized for that, but you don't have to apologize, Frets. It's always a pleasure. Whenever you can pop in, that's always a thrill. Michael Stepney's here, Robert Larry, Orion Progress, Blaine Mendoza, the world's most handsome mod. We also have Joe Anthony, who's joined us in the chat as well. So we've got a packed house, and you can join this packed house as well every Thursday. And you know what? Quality, top-notch chat. There's no nonsense, no ridiculousness. It's a very respectful, fun, sometimes nutty chat that I'm very proud of. That being said, I'm very, very happy that everyone is joining me here live this evening, and maybe you're just watching this on your own time on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, which is absolutely fine as well. I do appreciate it, and I really do appreciate a thumbs up if you do have the inclination. That kind of stuff really does work, and maybe you're even listening to this on your favorite podcasting platform. I recently changed podcasting platforms, hosts, so don't panic if currently you can't find the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, can't find the most recent episode. Things should smooth out over the next couple of days. Don't worry about it. But otherwise, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, Himalaya, what else? We're everywhere. I'm everywhere. Castbox, Spreaker. It's all there. It's all there. And again, there you can support the Mr. Warren Hayes Show by leaving a review, a comment, a like, a subscribe. Whatever it is you do over there on that platform, that's fantastic. And here's something. Here's another way for you to support the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Brand new, something I punched in last week, but man, I was so nervous to get back into the swing of things, I just glossed over it. If you want to support directly what I do, you have a couple of bucks lying around, you say, you know what, Warren's a cool guy, like the way he maintains his beard, here you go, you can tip me. I have a tip page set up. Oh yeah, and you just head to tinyurl.com/tipwarren, all one word, tinyurl.com/tipwarren. You can leave a couple of bucks there, and that will be very, very appreciated. And thank you in advance even if you're just thinking about it. I appreciate it. I also have t-shirts. Have you heard of that? Just to prove that I'm not dead, you can head to whatapparel.com/I'm-not-dead. All one word, no punctuation. And whatforapparel.com/I'm-not-dead. You get the official Mr. Warren Hayes I'm Not Dead t-shirt to make sure that you convey clearly to everyone that you are still alive. Because sometimes you need to drill it into people's skulls. Sometimes. And always keep in mind that I still do my 205 Live NXT UK recap show over on FightfulSelect.com, premium service to Fightful.com. So you head in there, you subscribe. At the bottom tier, at the $5 tier, you have access to my content and a whole bunch of extra content from fellows like Steven Jensen, Sean Ross Sapp, and the like. There's a whole bunch of extra content and podcasts there. I reviewed 205 Live this week, and if you want to hear my full thoughts, become a subscriber. But holy hell, Jack Gallagher versus Chad Gable 2. Ooh, it was even better than their first match. To me, it's a match of the year candidate. That was outstanding stuff. You have to take the time to watch that match from 205 Live. And, of course, there's another place I hang out. It's called belltobells.com. That's BELLTOBELLES. And that is run by a lady named Kristen Ashley, who is editor-in-chief of my heart, but also editor-in-chief of Bell to Bells. It is your premier #1 resource for women's wrestling coverage. We have a bunch of extremely talented people, such as Joe Anthony, who was in the chat, who write for us there, and just some absolutely fantastic stuff. If you like your women's wrestling and that's all you want to hear talk about, head on over there. You can also follow us on Twitter at Bell to Bells, spelt the same way. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you all very much for being here. Let's get to it then. Tasty, refreshing beverage, because it's hot everywhere in North America today, right? It's just boiling. Everyone's boiling to different degrees. So I'm making sure I stay hydrated. And we are going to start talking about WWE. We're going to start talking about Monday Night Raw. Now, Raw started off with Paul Heyman saying, I don't know if you heard, but I'm the guy with all the stroke around here, which I thought that was interesting. Heyman runs down the Battle Royal, and he says, everyone which is going to be the main event, because he's setting that up to find the #1 contender for Brock's title, who won at Extreme Rules. At Extreme Rules, right? You all know that by now. Pretty sure you've all seen that happen. So he announces the 10 men that are going to be in there: Seth Rollins, Cesaro, Rey Mysterio, Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman, Big E, which I thought was a nice surprise, Baron Corbin, Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns, and Randall Orton. He runs down basically the Battle Royal and says everyone is Brock's bitch. This was fine. But what I really liked here, chat, I don't know what you guys think here, but I really liked the fact that Ricochet came out, his music hit before Brock actually left, and Brock was left there just staring at him, looking at him come down, and like, is this foreshadowing? Are we perhaps looking into a future that could resemble Ricochet versus Brock Lesnar somewhere down the road? I think it's interesting. I mean, nothing happened, but it's still interesting. First match of the night was Ricochet and the Usos versus The Revival and Robert Roode, who hasn't been on television in eons, still maintains a perfectly groomed Magnum PI mustache, brought back to prominence through Stranger Things 3, if you ask me. If you ask me, even on top of that, Robert Roode was he was a precursor. He's a tastemaker. A tastemaker. This is the 8th time in 2 months that we see the Usos versus the Revival in some way or fashion. And I'm a little bored with that. Ricochet, and of course this is another 2 out of 3 falls match that has to completely eliminates all sense of drama. We know there has to be a first fall quickly because they're about to go to commercial, and that's what happens. Ricochet pins Dawson with a with a single leg code breaker, and it has a name. They gave it a name, and I don't remember what the name is, but they gave it a name. And honestly, I don't understand why. I don't understand why they gave it a name. A single leg code breaker kind of looks dumb, but anyway, that got the first quick pin. Dawson gets the second fall with a goddamn flapjack. When's the last time, honestly, folks, in modern day wrestling, let's say in the past 10 to 12 years, when's the last time a match came to a screeching halt when a pin was scored after a flapjack? Thank you, Mr. Fritz. It's called the recoil. That's right. That is correct. But eventually the club comes out and they stick their nose in all this business, but they get super kicked. Root and the Revival then go after the baby faces. They get laid out. But the club come in and beat up the faces, and they end up standing tall at the very end. Feels like they're moving to the club versus the Usos, which I'm completely okay with. I like Gallows and Anderson, especially Carl Anderson. The Usos are... It's hard to argue that the Usos are currently the top tag team in all of WWE right now. So I'm looking forward to matches like this. I'm looking forward to these guys going at it. Here I got to say though, how do you book the club going forward here? They come in and they beat up the faces, but if you want a real club, like dominant, heel, hateful club, they got to run in and beat the shit out of everyone, right? They just got to tear everyone up. Heels, baby faces, authority figures. They just beat the shit out of everyone and pick up new members as they go along. I think we're due for a big ass main roster stable. I really think we're due. We're overdue for that. I'd like that. Then we had a match with the Viking Raiders who came out and smushed some dudes. That's fine. That's what the Viking Raiders do. Then we have Drew McIntyre meets up with Cedric Alexander backstage, and he says, you pulled off some funny shenanigans. This is my Scottish accent, by the way. You pulled off some shenanigans on us last week. It's something like, yeah, I'm gonna stop. And he says, this week I'm going to dismember you. I'm going to disembowel you. He goes, JK, buddy, doing those things are illegal. No. I'm going to eviscerate you. Which led me to wonder if Drew knows what the definition of eviscerating is, because it ain't legal either. Neat little match here. Drew kicks the shit out of Cedric, but Cedric counters the reverse Alabama slam into a victory roll, getting a win for Cedric, which I'm okay with. I'm fine with them giving him something to do, and a bit of a high profile win there. Underdog was not expecting to come out on top of the bigger Drew. Fine with it. We'll see where this leads to, though. If it starts being Cedric versus Drew every week, then I'm going to get tired of this really quickly. But, I think that honestly, this is a feud that they're setting up to allow Drew to get some of his heat back. I think that's something that's going to happen. What's going on, chat? Let's take a look here. Blaine Mendoza says, Undisputed Era is the top tag team in all of WWE, Warren. Yeah, okay. If we're counting NXT, I sort of meant main roster. Joe Anthony says, Hateful Club is a 10 times better name than The Club. Raiders versus Club, please, says Mr. Fretz. Raiders need a real feud, says Carlos as well. CM Phil says, I didn't understand why Drew was mad at Cedric. He and Shane won the match. Yeah, but he tried to pull one over, Drew. You don't just do that. Robert Larry wants to know, are you drinking water or something strong, Warren? Neither. I'm drinking an iced coffee that I made myself. Ooh. So you know I'm going to be hyped up by the end here. And Kristen Ashley just arrived. So everything is shiny and happy and sweet. Samoa Joe comes out. Okay. Samoa Joe comes out. Crushes Finn. We have to break this segment up in just a couple of segments here. Bear with me, folks. Samoa Joe crushes Finn in less than a minute. Right? Then Finn, after the match, decides that he's going after Joe and he's beating the tar out of him, beats Joe down. Okay, now before we go any further, who gets over here? Who is over? Joe gets the squash win, but he gets beaten up after. Finn has the beatdown, but got squashed previously. Not win a competitive match. Got squashed. This, I don't understand it. I don't understand how this made sense to whoever decided to book this in such a fashion. But of course, there's more. Here is the moment, the crowning moment of Monday Night Raw. The only thing that really made it something special. The lights go down, can't see a thing. You hear some fighting, some odd sounds as Finn Balor's music sort of screws away. I guess you'd say that. Let's come back on. And you have Bray Wyatt in his Fiend mask. And he's got Finn Balor in the Sister Abigail position. And he's just standing there. The lights are strobing. It is the most awesome visual that WWE has pulled off in a long time. That was spectacular. And he Sister Abigail's Finn. And of course, I'm on pins and needles. I'm like, thank God I watched Raw tonight to see that. And I was getting a little anxious, folks, to be perfectly transparent with you, because it had been a while since we'd had a Firefly Funhouse. It had been quite a while. And we hadn't heard anything from Bray since. It had been about a month, wouldn't you say? 5 weeks. There is such a thing as losing momentum, right? And I was saying to myself, this is typical WWE, right? But no, look, I'm not going to go into it because it worked out really, really well. So of course, we are going to get that promised match where we're supposed to get Pumpkin Demon versus Sister Abigail before Bray got sick with meningitis and almost died. But you know what? I maintain to this day that Bray contracting meningitis and having to be taken out of that match saved his career. I honestly think that him coming out in like not so spooky gauze or like Victorian era drag would have effectively destroyed his character from top to bottom. It was a blessing that he got sick, and look at where we're at today. We're at a moment where Bray Wyatt has never been hotter. He's never been more anticipated. We are looking forward to what he's doing. And you know what? At SummerSlam, I'm convinced that we are going to get the Demon versus the Fiend. I mean, wouldn't it be great? Here we go. Wouldn't it be great if the Bray personality and the Fiend are like literally Jekyll and Hyde? Like Bray doesn't remember what the Fiend does. Like we're spitballing here. You know, the Fiend doesn't. So Bray doesn't recall attacking Finn. Finn is pissed off and is like, Bray, you know, we're gonna fight at SummerSlam, and Bray's like, dude, I don't know what's going on. It's like, well, you bring the Fiend. This is Finn talking. You bring the Fiend, and I'll bring my own buddy. So we'll have the Demon versus the Fiend at SummerSlam. Which, of course, if you are booking anything remotely as smartly, the Fiend is going to win. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, has to defeat the Demon. Bray Wyatt cannot lose his first return match at a pay-per-view. He just can't. There's rumors circulating that Finn Balor is about to take time off. He's requested time off. He wants to hang out in Ireland for a bit. That's fantastic. But if you're going to go forward with this and make sure that all the buildup that you've built for Bray is tenable, he has to win. And what better way than to be the first guy, the first man to deliver a loss to the Demon? And then this is the perfect time for Finn Balor to make an exit. Just be like, I'll see you guys in a few months. Absence makes the heart grow founder. I really do believe that. I do believe at some point wrestlers, if you just take them off the screen for a while, and you have the perfect excuse to take Finn away for a while, it all meshes. It all works. Then you have Finn come back and you haven't joined the club. The hateful club. But I am extremely looking forward to Bray Wyatt versus Finn Balor in 2019. And just 2 years ago, I was pulling my hair out, wishing this would never happen, and it didn't. But man, I was not looking forward to that. It's crazy what can happen in 2 years' time. CM Phil says, it can also be argued that it saved us from Jinder's title reign because AJ was red hot after AJ versus Finn. Sure, I could get behind that. Carlos says Demon versus Fiend could eventually turn Finn heel with the club. We're thinking alike. Joe Anthony says, I just remembered Samoa Joe is the first guy to beat the Demon in NXT. Yeah. Slips my mind, that one. Well, I'll take your word for it. And like CM Phil says, they don't acknowledge what happens on NXT. So next we have a segment with the 24/7 title where Drake Maverick is in his hotel room in his undies about to bang his wife. When room service arrives, and he answers the door, and room service comes in, and Drake Maverick's like, "Hey, I recognize you." Yeah, he's a WWE referee, and R-Truth just splashes him onto the bed, covers and wins the title back, and Drake Maverick spent the rest of his time in his underwear passing out flyers. Very, very pathetic. Zack Ryder defeated Mike Kanellis. In another match, Maria's embarrassed. This storyline is still going on. I'm still very much in wait and see mode. I'm very, very much... Let's just wait and see what happens. The one thing that I hope it doesn't turn into is a woman-hating angle. You know, where it sort of turns... Mike turns and he's like, I've done everything for you and you've never been there for me. And it turns into like, all women are like this. That would be despicable. And I'm still very much in wait and see. I've told you guys this last week. I don't have faith in WWE really pulling off a long-term angle with Mike Kanellis that will re-elevate him after being buried so hard, but we'll see. Then we had the Lucha House Party versus the Club. It was good for what it was. After the match, Ricochet attacked Sky. Not after the match, before the commercial, Ricochet attacked AJ Styles because they had to restart the match because there's no wrestling during commercials except on SmackDown. It was a good match for the Club for what it was. Next, we had a top contenders match for the Raw Women's title. Becky Lynch was out at ringside to check this out. Natalya versus Carmella versus Naomi versus Alexa Bliss. It was a 4-women elimination match. Now, folks, I'm going to put this out there because I think it might be. I want to test my live chat's thoughts on this. We've been saying for weeks, right? We've been saying for a long time that WWE doesn't give the women the time to breathe on main, give them long matches. Here they got a 24-minute match that I really felt could have been shortened to 10. Could have been, let me start over. There could have been 10 minutes shaved off of this match, for real. And I really believe it would have benefited the match much more had it been a little tighter. I don't know what you guys think. And I'm not saying this to sort of underhandedly say that the women shouldn't be getting long matches because they can't carry long matches. We've seen it in the past that they can. That's not the point. If you put in Natalya, Carmella, Naomi, and Alexa, who outside of Alexa, maybe a little Carmella, you've got half of the women in here who haven't been really wrestling on TV, haven't been built properly over the past few months, maybe to a year. How is anyone really supposed to care about anything that happens here? And this is the difficulty. This is the problem that I had here. And it's not I'm happy that they gave the women 24 minutes, but maybe this was not the occasion to give them 24 minutes, is my point. And there's a lot of stuff that I didn't quite understand in this match. Why was Carmella in this match? She's on SmackDown. Why wasn't Dana Brooke or Sarah Logan in this match? They're on Raw. Why was Carmella there? I got to tell you, I like the spot where Alexa tried to pin Natalya while Natalya had Naomi in a surfboard and she sort of slid between. I thought that was neat. That's not something I remember really seeing, so that was cool. Natalya eventually wins with the sharpshooter. A lot of people don't like Natalya, turns out, online. A lot of people don't like her. I do. This is awful chants in the audience. And look, I want to try and summarize this. I want to try and give some kind of answer for what happened on Monday in the 4-women elimination match. This match exposes the problem that WWE created for itself when they let Ronda Rousey run through everyone for the better part of a year. Because they didn't build anyone up. They didn't beat anyone else up in the meantime. Now you can argue that Becky Lynch getting over the way she did was unexpected. Fine. But this was one of my major gripes regarding the women's division last year, is that outside of the title pictures, there were no positions, there were no real compelling investing mid-card women's feuds. There were no mid-card women's storylines. They tried to do that with Bayley and Sasha, and they neutered it. You had the title on SmackDown, you had the title on Raw, and then you get to WrestleMania time. Becky is over like crazy. She's the hottest asset in your company. We get it. You were angling to have Charlotte versus Ronda as your main event, but that was never going to happen. Now you put your top 3 stars in the main event, with the belts of both brands basically involved in it as well. And you have no one else underneath who was properly built. And now we're feeling the problem now. They didn't build anyone up. So that's why we got Lacey Evans out of the gate for Becky. Because they looked at the roster and it's like, who else do we have? We can't go back to Charlotte yet. Bayley is, she's doing her thing with the title. Sasha's gone. And I get it, these are all unpredictable things. But that's why you take the time to build more women. Ember Moon was out with an injury. She comes back. They didn't even bother to give her any of her heat back. Now they're starting. And I've had people tell me, oh yeah, but they had Brock run through the men's division. The men's division didn't have that problem. Because the men's division has feuds all over the place. The men's division is 70% to 80% of programming in WWE. So of course they don't have that problem. It's not the same thing. It's much more natural to build contenders when you actually have storylines, when you have feuds outside of the title, when you actually build contenders. And they hadn't been doing that all throughout Ronda's reign. Just had her plow through everyone, all the top stars. So of course we end up with Natalya, who, by the way, is a strong performer. And she in a match with Becky Lynch will give Becky the strong match, the strong showing that she needs. Becky cannot carry someone who is not ready to perform on that level. She can't carry people. We saw it with Lacey. She just can't. You put her in a match with people like Charlotte, people like Sasha, and we'll see it here with Natalya. I am convinced it will go really, really smoothly. Won't be a 5-star classic, but it will be a strong match that Becky Lynch needs. This is right now in the current landscape. This is your best possible outcome for Becky. There we go. There's a weird Miz TV segment where apparently they're going to keep pushing Dolph down our throats. And then we have the top contender main event battle royal with Seth, Cesaro, Rey Mysterio, Lashley, Braun, Big E, Baron Corbin, Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns, and Randy Orton. Seth Rollins wins. I'm glad it makes sense that they want to go back to this well again to a certain extent, but I'm glad that they had Seth work for it, that it wasn't just like a rematch thing, because, they're not supposed to be automatic rematch clauses anymore. And there were two spots that I really liked here in this match. I liked Big E hitting the big ending on Braun Strowman. Oh, you tease, WWE. You tease to a Biggie Langston singles run. I liked that. And I also liked when Roman accidentally speared Seth. I thought that was fun. I loved Roman's reaction. I thought it was a nice little segment. It was a fun match, fun battle royal. Good for them. Let's move on to SmackDown Live. Gonna go through this. Kevin Owens has the night off during the Town Hall segment. The Town Hall segment, don't let it fool you, guys and gals. It served nothing. I think the only person it served was Liv Morgan, because it was the start of character development, the start of some kind of push, but it's the only person it served. Otherwise, it gave us two very boring matches. Nothing of interest was created. There was nothing really that was said. Buddy Murphy was nice. I like Buddy Murphy saying, yeah, Kevin Owens talked about me last week, but you know what? That dude better keep my mouth out of his mouth. Yeah, see, okay. Confession time. I write Buddy Murphy, Kevin Owens fan fiction. I mean, if I get enough tips, I might just read a paragraph or two at some point. I'll pull it out. Oh, the fan fiction, I mean, that's what I'll pull out. Anyway, at the end of the town hall, Kevin Owens sneaks in and stuns Shane twice. First time Shane seemed a little excited to take it. He just dropped to the floor really quickly. But he connected with the second stunner. Got that out of the way. For some bizarro reason, we got Aleister Black versus Cesaro again. Look, this was another hard-hitting match, but it was it was pointless. We saw that match on Sunday. It was better and it was longer. What happened here? Why was this even considered? There was nothing here. Absolutely nothing here. You had Charlotte versus Liv in a squash match. I thought Liv looked fantastic. All of her offense connected and was nice and snug. Her Hurricane Rana, her drop kick, her enziguri, everything was just on the mark. But Charlotte beats her with the figure eight. But at the end, she grabs Corey's headset and says, "When I come back, I'm going to be real." And she's crying. Change a gimmick, change a gimmick, new push. Fingers crossed for Liv Morgan. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville were up next versus Ember Moon and a surprise partner. And that surprise partner ended up being Bayley. And there's not much to say about this match, aside from the babyfaces winning and Bayley sending out a friendly challenge to Ember Moon for SummerSlam. And Ember Moon was thrilled to the gills. Absolutely thrilled. Maybe a little too much. But at least that's new. That's fun. We have Nakamura being accosted backstage by Mustafa Ali. Then we have the New Day who come out, all with their championships, of course, and they start talking about how they have all the gold and so on and so forth. And that brings out Daniel Bryan, who had a big announcement. A big announcement, an earth-shattering, career-defining moment. He's about to go somewhere he's never gone before, but he doesn't let us know what it is. He comes out, can't stand the audience's reaction, goes back, he comes back out again, goes back, comes back out again, and drops the mic and just leaves. We don't know what happens next. Then after this, Samoa Joe comes out, Elias, Randy Orton. Look, we set up a six-man tag. They set up a six-man tag. The New Day versus Elias, Samoa Joe, and Randy Orton. Not much here. Joe was very much a non-factor in this match, such as is his pay-per-view winning average. Very much paint by numbers match. However, Randy Orton gets the RKO on Kofi, pinning him. So I guess we're setting this up for SummerSlam. We finally get the Kabuki Warriors challenging the Iconics for the SmackDown Live women's titles, tag team titles. And outside of the Kabuki Warriors getting some nice explosive double team offense in early, hitting a snapmare followed by a sliding elbow, for instance. There wasn't much to this. The Iconics get kicked to the outside of the ring, and they go to, I think it's Peyton that goes up onto the apron, and Billy Kay's like, or it's the opposite. I think it's the opposite. Billy Kay goes to jump back in, but Peyton sort of like grabs her and is like, hey, what are we doing? We don't have to go back in. We're still going to retain even if we lose. So they take the count out loss. And that is the state of the women's tag team titles, folks. Now, we're built up with so much hope and promise. Could go just about anywhere on any brand. I mean, it works for the Iconics. That's not the point. It's fine. But of course they're going to have a blow-off. They're going to have a proper blow-off at SummerSlam. That's what it's leading to, of course. But it's not as if It's not as if they don't have women's tag teams that they can put forward. Just saying. It's not on NXT either. They have the horsewomen on NXT. Andrade versus Apollo Crews was next. This was a rematch from their match from a couple of weeks ago, and Apollo gets the win here. Big win for Apollo Crews. It was a big week for Apollo. Gets a win over Andrade. Has an outstanding match against Kushida on NXT that you should all take a look at as well. And then came our main event, Kevin Owens versus Dolph Ziggler. I don't know why they decided to put this again. I don't know why Shane McMahon, kayfabe backstage, has Dolph Ziggler coming up to him and saying, hey, and Dolph saying, hey, I'll clean Kevin Owens' clock tonight. Why did Shane say, sure, good idea? It should have been more like, hey, you know what, bud? You can't get the job done. Absolutely, absolutely not. This is not something that is going to happen. You suck. But we got it anyway. And there's some distraction. There's some distraction that occurs when Shane comes out with the entire heel locker room, or at least not entire, but a lot of the heel locker room. Distracts Owens and allows Ziggler to hit a zigzag, but he can't put Owens away. Dolph dodges a super kick. KO goes for the stunner. He hits it. But Shane pulls Owens out of the ring. But Owens stunners Shane again, and he hits the bricks. As the heels chase him down, and Shane promises that he is in trouble. I didn't care much for SmackDown this week. I thought Raw had a couple of saving graces. It was an okay addition, but SmackDown felt very much like we're establishing, right? What we're doing here, right, is we're establishing new storylines. It felt like something building up to, we're pulling out the fresh ideas, then we're going to move on and get the ball rolling next week. That's how it felt like this week. And sometimes those episodes happen. But it wasn't all that great. I gotta tell you. You know what else I gotta tell you? That you guys are all awesome. What's going on here in chat? Joe Anthony says they also set up that Randy Orton has erectile dysfunction. That's right. When Kofi called him the Viper, but what did he say? The Viper. Yeah, he made an allusion to the fact that his Viper is a little soft or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but it was something like that. Carlos says, give the Kabuki Warriors the belts already. The division needs to be rebuilt. And Robert Larry says, I see a triple threat match a triple threat match for the women's tag titles at SummerSlam. Agree or disagree with my comment? I think that before they start doing triple threats with the women's tag division, they should just go ahead and have like straight up tag team matches before they start getting gimmicky. That's how I feel. Like I said at the start of the show, everyone, and if you want to refresh your brains with that, we had a big weekend of wrestling. We had AEW having Fight for the Fallen. We had Extreme Rules. We had Evolve 10th anniversary on the network, Evolve 131, and the G1 throughout all of that. Want to share with you a couple of my favorite matches that happened over the weekend. Non-G1 related. Let's say that. Let's talk about that. First and foremost, and I've been telling y'all, look, Evolve 131 was a fun show. You should all check it out. But you should check it out for one reason. If you're like, oh, Warren, I cannot watch another wrestling pay-per-view. I'm overloaded, the baby's crying. I've got a souffle in the oven. I've started shaving and I can't get it done. And I have an omelet cooking. Why am I cooking an omelet at the same time as the souffle, Warren? I don't know. I'm a little overwhelmed right now. Don't tell me to go watch another wrestling show. You should at least watch Shotzi Blackheart versus Brandi Lauren. Best brawl of the weekend. The most fun brawl of the weekend. That was so much fun. It was crazy. It was Blackheart and Lauren just went completely after each other. There was some outside interference. Shotzi, of course, you've probably seen the spot by now, did a crazy dive right onto a stack of setup chairs on the outside. It was a hoot. If you have the network, you have no reason to not check this match out. That was a lot of fun. As far as Fight for the Fallen, if you want to see my full Fight for the Fallen thoughts, I was part of the recap show over on Fightful. You can head on over to the Fightful channel after this match, after this show, and check it out. Kenny Omega versus Shima is one of the best matches overall that happened during the weekend. It was nice to see Kenny Omega. It wasn't. Look, let me start over. It was. Let me start over one more time. Kenny Omega usually runs faster paced matches than that, and he has a lot more, his storytelling is a lot more theatrical, a lot more, dare I say, melodramatic, and there's nothing wrong with that. I dig Kenny Omega matches. But here, with Shima, we had a different view, different vision of Kenny Omega. Not that the match was slow paced, it was slower paced. The storyline was the story they told was very, very different, and it was hard hitting throughout the entire ordeal. Nice to see Kenny pull out something different. Fantastic match by Shima, continuing to establish himself or let himself be known to a North American audience who maybe wasn't familiar with who he was for a while. This was a fantastic match. Loved the spot where Omega, and I actually have it right up here in the right up here in the rotating gifts where he catches, because Shima was just meteora after meteora after meteora, and Kenny at some point just catches him midair, slams him down, gets into a hell of a sequence of offense. That was a lot of fun. Loved that. And I love the table that didn't break. That there was zero give. Omega ate a meteor right on the table. Jesus, he might as well have ate it directly on a bed of nails. Holy hell, that must have hurt a lot. Good on them. And you know what? I also like the Dark Order versus a Boy and His Dinosaur versus Angelico and Jack Evans. I thought it was a fun match. I enjoyed it. But here, the Dark Order gimmick is having trouble getting over. I don't know what you guys think in chat. I don't know what you guys think about the Dark Order if you've been following these shenanigans. But it's having a hard time getting over. They want to do the weirdo mystical dark gimmick with these guys here. These guys, formerly known as Super Smash Bros. On the independent circuit, obviously could not translate into a mainstream audience using that name without having Nintendo crash down upon them with great fury and fire, of course. But these guys, Player Uno and Stu Grayson, they are absolutely fantastic. They are an amazing tag team match. And while the gimmick is having difficulty getting over, I watched some of their matches against the Young Bucks, a bunch of other people, and I was like, if AEW pulled back on the gimmick a little and let them wrestle, let them get over wrestling, because that's how that tag team got over. Stu Grayson is fantastic, and he carried that match. He really, really did. And you see Joe Anthony in the chat says, I'm still not sold on the Dark Order, to be honest. And that's the thing. Let the guys wrestle. Don't get overboard on the gimmick, because it's not translating well, and it's not being produced well either. It's not entirely, this is pretty much on AEW creative at this point. Let the guys wrestle. They'll be fantastic. And also tell Jim Ross not to bury the winner of your tag team match. Jim Ross, at the end of that match, after the Dark Order won, said straight into the microphone, well, I thought these guys, were a little rusty. Not everything clicked, but give them some time, they'll be okay. Like, Jesus Christ! These guys are part of your promotion. They are in your tag team tournament, and they just won a match, and you're like, well, they're not very good. That's essentially what he said. Let's take a moment to talk about AEW's main problem right now, which is their commentary position. It is not good. And it is not because of Excalibur. It is squarely placed on Jim Ross and Alex Marvez. Now, much respect for Jim Ross. Oodles of respect for his career, everything he has accomplished, not just as a commentator. He has occupied many positions within this great business that we love to talk about every Thursday. I have no issues with his past, but right now, he is not the Jim Ross that we knew, and that is just plain and simple. Excalibur carries him throughout the matches. Excalibur knows the wrestlers. He knows the moves. Jim obviously hasn't kept up with independent wrestling or the evolution of wrestling and sees some moves that he does. He's not quite sure what they are or doesn't quite care. But most egregiously, he has trouble conveying the drama of the match. He doesn't have that grit, that fire that he once had. And you compound that with Alex Marvez, for whom I have no problem saying that he is not worthy to be a color guy on a wrestling show. He has about as much energy as this guy right here, this plant. You see this plant? That's about the level of energy that Alex Marvez conveys in a match. He comes across as someone who's just happy to be there. Oh, well, don't forget, fans in Ireland and the UK, be sure to check out your ITV subscriptions or join us on Fight TV for this fantastic... You're like, dude, no. And even throughout the matches, he's chuckling. He's looking at moves and he's like, oh, well, that's pretty quick. He doesn't understand that it's almost as if he knows that we are in on the wrestling thing, right? Like he knows that he knows that we're smart fans, and he's like, hey, wink, wink, wink. I know that, hey, he did a really crazy move there, didn't he? But that's not his job. That his job is to make us believe in the story. It's not his job to be wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He's a fantastic PR guy. When they did Fyter Fest and he was relegated to the back to do interviews, he was fantastic. Get him off commentary. He drags everything down. He has no energy. Excalibur is the only guy that has spark. At Fyter Fest, they had that dude Golden Boy who calls matches on who calls esports matches. Remember him? And he and Excalibur were fantastic. And Jim Ross was there as well, but clearly the two other guys were on the same wavelength, same energy, same knowledge. I mean, Golden Boy, for a guy who he understood the matches, understood the wrestlers, he came prepped. I wish he could stick around. And why does AEW need a 3-man table? I mean, if you want to be different from WWE that bad, AEW, just give us a 2-man commentary table. Because that's one of our gripes with WWE. There's too many people on commentary. There's too many voices. Fix your commentary, AEW. You've got till October. Couple of matches here on Extreme Rules that I really, really liked. Aleister Black versus Cesaro is unquestionably one of the better matches of the weekend as well. The New Day versus Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan versus Heavy Machinery was so good. I feel like not a lot of people are talking enough about this match. Everyone was brilliant in this match. I love how they're booking Heavy Machinery now. They've abandoned the goofy shit with Otis screaming after women and acting like he's mentally challenged. Now he just acts. Yeah, he acts like a '90s wrestler. He acts like a late '80s, early '90s WCW wrestler, and it works. It works for him. He has the charisma to make that kind of stuff happen. This was a great, great match, and you know what? I'm gonna say it. Roman Reigns versus Undertaker versus Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre had no right to be as fun as it was. And bless the skies that Undertaker was put in this match and that he worked how he worked, because it renewed faith in me as to what he's capable of doing. He erased that shit show that happened with Goldberg. Thank goodness he did. Because if his career had ended on that note, man, that would have tainted his legacy something fierce. I liked Extreme Rules. Honestly, from top to bottom, it was a better show than Fight for the Fallen. I really, really do think that. So those were my favorite non-G1 related matches of the weekend. So why don't we talk about the G1 to close up the show? Again, folks, chums, friends, well-wishers, we are blessed. Let me see what chat's talking about before we jump in here. Robert Larry says, Marvez's commentary sounds like Soundwave from the 1980s cartoon, The Transformers. At least Soundwave, at least Soundwave's motivations were clear. CM Phil says, I like Golden Boy a lot at Fyter Fest. Sigma, by the way, hello Sigma, said Golden Boy did amazing as well. Kristen Ashley is hot and exhausted. And Richard Storm, how you doing? Talking about the Reigns, Undertaker, McMahon, McIntyre match. When that match was done, I actually thought it was really excellent. Nice job by Taker, I agree. CJ with Good Speed Entertainment. How you doing, CJ? Welcome to the chat. Says, sounds like AEW is no longer the shiny new penny. No, that's not the thing. You call out the great stuff. There was some fantastic stuff on Fight for the Fallen, but you have to call a spade a spade. You just have to be objective. Their production value has been improving. I think they're doing a fantastic job with their undercard. The undercard on in AEW is so ridiculously over. Did you see how over Luchasaurus was at Fight for the Fallen? I was blown away. And Jungle Boy is over, Marco Stunt is over, Darby Allin is over, Sean Spears is over, MJF is over. Although you can argue that MJF is probably moving up the ranks a little bit, but you have their undercard, their mid-card is so solid. Don't get me wrong, I'm not just sitting around here crapping on AEW saying that it's shit. No, their commentary table is shit. They need to fix that. Keep Excalibur, keep Jim Ross because you paid him a lot of money apparently to do it. Dump Marvez, and I'm convinced we'll be fine. Shane McMahonnaise, how you doing? Yes, Shane McMahonnaise, I am alive, and I have the t-shirt to prove it. You can buy it right now, today, at whatforapparel.com/I'm not dead. All one word, no punctuation. whatforapparel.com/I'm not dead. to prove that you are as well, that you are alive as well as everyone else. We had a couple of days of G1 action. This is such a great time of year. I was thinking back to last summer. Last summer I had a lot of time on my hands and I covered the entire G1 for Fightful Select, and I can't do it this year. It's a shame. I really like to be able to do full recaps, and I've been watching as much as I can, trying to sneak as many matches in as I can. But let's run through these. Let's run through these. We haven't talked about the G1 since Dallas. The first night 2 basically of the G1 happened on July 13. In Tokyo, Japan. We had Juice Robinson defeating Shingo Takagi in a match that a lot of people consider to be an upset. And I will be the first to say that I considered this an upset. Did not expect Juice to pull off the win here, but it was a nice, strong match. I dug it. Then we had Jon Moxley defeating Taichi. There wasn't much surprise there. Toru Yano, my spirit animal, defeated Tetsuya Naito. What? And it was from this point on, you get the Juice win, you have the Yano win, and I'm like, okay, this is, I love me unpredictability in wrestling. I was not expecting either Shingo or Naito to lose, especially in the first match, especially again, and Naito against Yano, but it was a fun match. What else can you, they worked really well together. It was a lot of fun. Tomohiro Ishii defeated Jeff Cobb. It was a great slap-happy match. I loved it. Ishii, fantastic as usual. This was great. Best match on the card. You definitely need to check it out. But then again, I am an Ishii mark. And Hiroki Goto got the Jay White monkey off his back. He defeated him, finally, in what was probably Goto's best match in roughly a year. I honestly think that the last really good match that Goto had was in the G1 last year against Tomohiro Ishii. Go figure. What's going on here in the chat? Richard Storm says Luchasaurus was way over. Yeah, that was crazy. CJ says, LOL, sounds like WCW. Great undercard, main nope. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, in a way. CM Phil says Sunny Kiss is over as well. Thank you for pointing that out. I've forgotten about Kiss, but yes, he is indeed very over. We could have a full discussion on the Librarians being over or not, but that'll be for another time. Carlos says Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy are licensed to print money. Robert Larry says, I am so happy to see Tully Blanchard back on TV because he has been announced as Sean Spears' manager. So that's something that's going to come in. Richard Storm says that he bought my shirt. Richard Storm, the minute you receive that shirt, you take a picture with you in it, you put it on social media. I will put it in my rotation, in my banner rotation, as my stream warms up. It is there. I'm waiting for that. And Tim Travers says that he's eating some chips and watching my favorite buddy, MrWarrenHayes. That's me. Night 3 of the G1 gave us Lance Archer defeating Bad Luck Fale. This was okay for what it was. Will Ospreay defeated Sonata in a fantastic match. Crazy to see Sonata being able to keep up with Ospreay here. Sonata was coming off of his big win over Zack Sabre Jr. This match was fantastic. They have some great chemistry here together. Kazuchika Okada defeated Zack Sabre Jr. This match was absolutely fine. Typical Zack Sabre Jr. match where he has a counter for everything Okada or what his opponent is trying to pull out. In this case, it was Kazuchika Okada. So this was there was even this spot where he had a really nasty octopus hole and getting some variations on Okada that looked really painful. He even pulled out orienteering with Napalm Death and Okada was able to survive that. So go figure. Surprise match here a match that I was really surprised, that I really, really dug. Evil defeated Kota Ibushi. First of all, the result is nuts, but the match was fantastic. I honestly thought that this was, clash of styles, and Evil's okay, but he's not the best worker in the company. Ibushi he's the golden child for a reason, but this was so good. There was a fantastic exchange of headbutts and lariats at the end, and Evil actually connected with Darkness Falls and Everything is Evil to completely win, clean. Great match, you guys. You should check it out. This was from night 3. And Kenta defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi, defeating the Golden Boy. Yeah, if you can believe that. This is okay though. It was a solid match. Don't get me wrong, but it was fine. If you want to see what the former Hideo Itami is up to, this is definitely your cup of tea. Blaine Mendoza says that he has to get my shirt and do a photo shoot. Yeah, you do. And you guys should follow Blaine on Instagram. It's Blaine looking handsome and lifting weights. And for some weird reason, I'm really into that. So yes, you need to do that with my t-shirt, Blaine. There's been CJ says that there's been a lot of surprises in the G1 so far. Absolutely. Robert Larry says, does anyone feel that Zack Sabre Jr. is one of the most underrated wrestlers today? I don't think he's underrated, and I don't, because New Japan wouldn't be putting him in the positions that he's in. He is a stalwart of the British scene. He's the Rev Pro British champion. I think he's anything but underrated. He just might surprise some people because his style is so extremely different from everything we're used to. Night 4 action had Shingo Takagi defeat Toru Yano, so that was a fun little match that happened as well. Then we had Juice Robinson defeating Hiroki Goto. So again, a bit of a surprise here for me, because I sort of felt that Goto would have crazy momentum going in here, and that Juice's initial win was probably going to be treated as a fluke. But no, Juice is moving on with another win. We had Jon Moxley defeating Jeff Cobb in what is arguably one of the not so hot matches of the G1 so far. It was a little sloppy at times. They just didn't click. The boys just did not click here. There's something going on. Tomohiro Ishii beat the shit out of Jay White. I hope that there are some Jay White fans out there who will not appreciate me taking so much glee in this, but Ishii just tore into White. That makes me very, very happy. And in another shocker, Taichi defeated Tetsuya Naito, and that just blows my mind. And you know what? This match was really, really good. One of the best matches of the G1 so far. It was just fantastic. It was really, really good. Taichi actually basically he had a last ride on Naito to secure the win after using the iron gloves, and there were shenanigans, but this was really, really a fun match, and I was surprised. And that's the thing with Taichi, right? Like, his gimmick is that he doesn't care. And a lot of the times when he does wrestle, he does not care. But then once in a while, he's going to pull one out where you're like, holy crap, this guy is just delivering. So I really dug this. I thought it was a fun match. Joe Anthony says, y'all might think I'm crazy, but Ospreay versus Lance is my favorite G1 match so far. That was a spectacular match. And I think I talked about it on last week's show, but Archer and Ospreay have ridiculous chemistry for each other, and the Clash of Styles works really, really well. CM Phil says that Zack Sabre Jr. is only underrated here in America. That's a good point. And CJ says Lance has been awesome in every match he has had in this G1. And finally, we have results of Night 5, which happened earlier today or last night, depending on your point of view. I haven't watched the matches yet, but here are nonetheless the results. Kenta defeated Lance Archer. Can't speak much about. I won't speak much about them because I didn't watch the matches. Evil defeated Sonata. I can't wait to see that. That must have been a lot of fun. Kazuchika Okada defeated Bad Luck Fale, so Okada keeps on his winning streak. Hiroshi Tanahashi beats his losing streak by defeating Zack Sabre Jr., who can't get a win. That's interesting. And Kota Ibushi defeated Will Ospreay. And this was frightening to me because Will Ospreay, it had been established it had been said just a couple of days ago that he had a neck injury and that maybe he wouldn't be able to compete. They weren't sure, but he got medically cleared to go face Kota Ibushi. It's like your neck is injured and you're cleared to compete, but it's against Kota Ibushi. What the hell is going to happen to your neck? But what's really cool here is from what people have told me online is that the guys apparently Ospreay was really, really taped up, and they worked the neck situation, but they didn't go overboard. You could tell they were being careful, but it was nonetheless a hell of a match. A lot of people are calling it best match of the G1 so far. It's hard to go wrong with Ospreay and Ibushi, man. So the standings right now in A block, Kenta and Kazuchika Okada are tied at 6. That's very, very interesting. Lance Archer's at 4 and Evil as well. Tied at 2, we have Bad Luck Fale, Kota Ibushi, Sonata, Will Ospreay, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. And at the bottom is Zack Sabre Jr. with 0 points. And as far as Block B goes, well, you don't have as much... there are no 6-point winners here. Tied at 4 points are Tomohiro Ishii, Jon Moxley, and Juice Robinson. But then again, there's still one night of... A Block is one night ahead at this point here. So Tomohiro Ishii, Jon Moxley, Juice Robinson all tied at 4. Tied at 2 are Hiroki Goto, Shingo Takagi, Taichi Toruyano, and Jeff Cobb, Tetsuya Naito, and Jay White at 0 points. And I'm still maintaining, ladies and gentlemen, still hanging on here. My G1 finals are going to be Kazuchika Okada and Tetsuya Naito. Naito is going to win. He's going to get the double win. He's going to get the briefcase, and he's going to beat Okada, which is going to make his victory at Wrestle Kingdom all the more decisive and expected. I think Naito from this point on is going to... The comeback story begins. That's the tale they're going to be saying here. My good friend Jonathan Pilquist from the No Particular Angle podcast, he has his conclusion being having Okada winning the G1, which would be the first time that a reigning IWGP champion has won the G1 in about like 12 to 15 years, and that he will pick Naito for Wrestle Kingdom because if you are the champion and you win the G1, you get to pick your opponent. And that's an interesting theory, but I think mine is better. Well, folks, I think I did better this week. didn't draw out as long, right? We did. I think I did pretty good. Applause for me. Pats on the back, Warren. Good job for not having people stick around here for close to 2 hours on your stream. I was able to pack this in. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Folks, I want to thank you all for joining me here live. Again, if you haven't already, feel free to thumb up the video. Give it a like, a review on your podcast application. Feel free to leave a tip if you want at tinyurl.com/tipwarren, or buy a t-shirt. I'm Not Dead t-shirt, of course. whatapparel.com/I'm Not Dead without any punctuation. Be sure, so I'm next popping up next Wednesday over on Fightful Select for my 205 Live NXT UK recap show, and then we'll be back next Thursday to do this all over again. And why not? Because it's a lot of fun, and I'm gonna tell you all right now, being super, super honest and transparent with you. Feels good to sit here, talk wrestling with y'all, and not just talk about WWE. Gotta tell you, I enjoy that. So there you have it. Folks, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you next time.